Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another Sunday of Faith in Our Hometown. We're glad that you join us for our conversations about our community, about our faiths, how we try to make this community and our world a little bit better, because we are people who care about things. And so thank you for being here and caring about some of those things, at least enough to tune in again for another Sunday morning. My guest this morning is going to be Keenan Cortez, who is the Mayor Pro-Tem here for the city of Joplin, because this is the community that many of us live in, and I know that many of you are around the surrounding areas, and we're glad that you're tuned in too. But we're just going to talk about, I think, a topic that matters no matter which little community we find ourselves in, whether it's Joplin or not, and that is, how do we create community? How do we unite a community that sometimes gets so divided over so many things? Politics divide us. Many times religion divides us. The COVID has divided us. We get so many things that divide us. So how do we bring this community together? And we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute to talk to Keenan Cortez about exactly that.
Last year, my sister was diagnosed with ovarian stage 3C cancer in her early 40s. As a mother of two beautiful children, I didn't think twice about undergoing genetic testing here at Mercy. Even though I have grandparents and an uncle battle cancer, seeing a genetic counselor wasn't something that ever crossed my mind until my sister's results showed that she was BRCA2 positive.
We've come a long way, especially in about the last 5 years. Genetic testing can pinpoint the cancers that you are at highest risk for in order to detect them earlier, or if possible, prevent them.
My genetic counselor at Mercy, Robin, took note of my family health history and answered all of my questions. She even suggested my brother get tested. Robin said if he tested positive, he may be more likely to be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and that is what I lost my uncle to.
There are many other types of cancer that are also possibly hereditary, such as colorectal cancers, pancreatic cancers.
I honestly was prepared to hear that I was positive, but indeed I was negative. And what a huge relief that was, not only to me, but to my family, to know I wasn't at a great risk of developing breast or ovarian cancer.
Diet, lifestyle choices such as smoking or drinking all contribute to our risk for cancer. Genetic testing is taking just kind of one piece of that. Talk to your primary care doctor or your OBGYN and ask for a referral to a genetic counselor.
Well, again, thanks for being here this morning for Faith in Our Hometown. My guest this morning, Keenan Cortez, who's the Mayor Pro-Tem here of the city of Joplin.
Good morning, Father.
It's good to have you with us. Thanks for being here. You and I have some similar jobs, okay? And that's trying to bring some unity sometimes in the midst of a community that sometimes wants to divide itself.
True.
So how do you do that for a city? How do we bring a city or a community, even look larger than Joplin? How do we bring this community together when there's so many things that sometimes people want to divide us over?
It actually seems like a really tall charge to talk about that, but I think it's rather simple. I think one of the first things that we have to do is realize that this has been kind of an odd year. It's
Amen, brother.
It's been just a tad tough on
Yeah,
everybody out there. There's nobody in our lifetime, in these generations, that has dealt with what we're dealing with. I mean, the last time we had a global pandemic was 1918. I wasn't around. You don't look like you were around.
No. I look good for my age, but I wasn't around then.
So it's tough right now. And I think one of the things that's lacking in our community, and one of the things that I've witnessed in some of the division that I've seen and some of the uproar that people have, is we're lacking a lot of grace. When did we lose grace? When did we lose the ability to forgive one another, to be able to offer up a hug and it's okay, we'll do better next time? Why do we always have to win? Why does every argument have to end in a win? Why do we always have to be right at the very end? Why can't we just embrace one another and sit down and embrace the differences that we have? Sometimes we may need to get up from the table and agree to disagree. That's okay.
Yeah, we don't have to spend the rest of our lives in enmity over it.
Exactly. So What I think some of the things that need to happen is, first of all, 2020 needs us to exhale a little bit. Let's just take a really deep breath, breathe it in, fill our lungs, and exhale. And go, it's gonna be okay.
And at least I think we need to hang on to the belief that says we can make it better in 2021 if we want to. Even if the pandemic hangs on, we can still make this better.
We can.
I have to believe that too. I mean, now I get paid, I guess, to be a man of hope, but I do think we can do this better.
We still have hope. We still have tremendous hope for not only our community, but for our nation and for the world. This pandemic does not have to define us. We are a people that has overcome many things in our lifetime, many things in the history of this world. This is one more thing that we will overcome. We're going to be a little inconvenienced for a little while, and there's going to be some life changes that we're going to have to make. We're going to adjust to the new normal, but we can do that together.
Sure.
When did we have to pick corners and retreat to our own corners and be at war with one another?
Yeah, and again, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm. I think that what's changed in the last few years is that people sometimes don't want to bring it together. And I really think that has to be a fundamental choice that every member of our community, and I think that every member of the world community, and I would hope every member of my family, and I would hope every member of my church would do. And that choice has to be, I want to be in relationship and in union with you.
I think we need to make choices of being part of the solution rather than part of the problem.
Yeah.
What can I do today? How can I be a part of something that's going to make this unprecedented time that we're in better? Yeah. How can I love more? How can I reach out and help more? Is there something that I can be doing in my church, in my community? Is there a neighbor that may need my help? What about our hospitals? They're a little overwhelmed. Do I know anybody that works in healthcare? Have I called them lately? Have I talked to them? Have I encouraged them? Man, there are so many different things. And I work at one of the local hospitals, and I can tell you there's some encouragement needed there. Those people are working hard every day to get us through this. And they get worn down, they get tired, just like everybody does at their jobs these days. Let's encourage one another. Let's be supportive, and let's offer people grace. We're in a time where we're learning more things about the coronavirus and the COVID-19. We're learning how to deal with it. We're getting more information each and every day. But still and yet, we're still pretty young in this. We're 6-7 months into this. We're still learning. So there needs to be a little grace extended that we don't always have the right and correct answers for everything that needs to happen. So, okay, we make a decision over here today. It turns out maybe a week or two or a month down the road, it may not have been the best decision. Okay, let's start over and let's do it differently this time and let's try to do it better. But let's have a little grace in there. Let's have a little mercy for those people that are trying to make decisions in these times, because they're trying. They really are. I do sit on the Joplin City Council. I'm the mayor pro-tem, and I can tell you that everyone that's sitting on that council, everyone that's at City Hall trying to make decisions for our community every day, we're trying to do the right thing for the community as a whole. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong.
Yeah, and I do think it's fair to say that sometimes there are differing opinions as to how we go about that, and different values that sometimes are going to guide some of those choices. Mm-hmm. And I can, again, be gracious enough to say, okay, I agree with some of those, I disagree with other things, but still we've got to make a decision and we've got to move forward together.
Exactly.
And how do we do some of that,
The reality is we are a community, and Joplin in the 4-state area is a wonderful place to be. I've lived on the East Coast, I've lived on the West Coast, I've lived overseas. I don't know, and I truly believe that most people that live here realize this is a wonderful place to be.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it a lot for the last 14 years.
This is a great community. It's beautiful. It has wonderful people. Even though we may have different ideologies about things, we're still a wonderful people. We get along great. Let's continue to do that, but embrace that with a spirit of grace. Embrace that with a spirit of mercy, and just working together, knowing that, even though we're trudging ahead and trying to get through this, sometimes we slip and fall. Sometimes we stumble. Well, rather than stepping on somebody, bend down and pick them up. Help them out.
Yeah.
You know, and pick them up, dust them off, and let them know it's going to be okay. Hey, I'm right here with you. And because we can do this together. We really can. We can be a strong community. I think back to the days just after the May 2011 tornado. I was so proud to be a part of this community. Even though one of the most devastating things that could happen to this community had just happened, we came together and we overcame. And it was almost instantaneously. I mean, within hours of that tornado leaving our community, we were one. We were Joplin strong.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's do that again.
I would like to go back, but I probably not quite to get smacked so hard. If we could just go back without the extra pain. I don't know whether it's possible in some ways.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Let's take our attitudes back there.
I would love to do that.
Let's take our spirit back there. Let's help our neighbors and let's move forward together through this.
Because I experienced the same thing you did. I mean, you know, we get different churches, different things, and everybody, you know, and there were a few people that once in a while would start getting territorial. No, we can't do it because and I'm like, let's just do it. I mean, let's just, you know, go ahead. If you're going to go do that year, you lead the way. Go for it. We'll help. You know, we'll do this. We'll focus on something else if you're going to take that. You know, there was just so much about that. I think the words you used a couple times now about graciousness, that was grace. I mean, it really was. It was basically just making a space for the other one to succeed and excel.
On my way up here today, I got this on my heart, and I don't really know if it has a good place, but I'm going to talk about it anyway.
Sure, go for it.
I think
You're
about,
the guest. I'm not going to yell at you.
I think about the woman at the well. She went to the well, and she had a pretty speckled past. There were a lot of scars on it and a lot of dark spots in there. And she got to talking to Jesus. And Jesus extended her a tremendous amount of grace and showed her mercy. It changed her life.
Yeah.
It absolutely changed our life. So when we are out there criticizing and down talking those that are around us, our neighbors, we don't know what's going on in their world. But if we extend them a little bit of grace, it may change their life. It may change their day, it may change their week, it may change their month, it may change their life. Sometimes we need someone to be a friend. Yeah. Sometimes we just need a kind word said to us. And sometimes we just need somebody to stand next to us, put our hand on our shoulder and let us know that they're there. Sometimes no words need to be exchanged. Just being together and trudging the road together can bring people to a whole different place. And I would love to see more of that in our community. And we're capable. And we're there. And a lot of it is already happening. But some of the things that are going on in our world today in 2020 has divided us, but it doesn't have to define us. It doesn't have to define us as a people, because we're better than COVID-19. We're better than coronavirus.
Well, and again, some of the other divisions. I want to talk about. I really want to get a little more concrete in our second half and talk about some of those divisions and what we might be able to do to go after some of those specific things. Because I do think there are some challenges to us, especially those of us who lead and are trying to get people to think in different patterns here in our community. But my guest this morning is Keenan Cortez, who's the Mayor Pro-Tem of the city here at Joplin. We were talking a little bit about how do we bring people together in time of COVID and as we're dreaming about that post-COVID world that we want to see. So we're going to be right back after a real quick break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
It's good to have you back and to stay with us this morning, so thank you for being here and thank you for sticking with us. Again, my guest this morning, Keenan Cortez, who's the Mayor Pro-Tem of the city of Joplin. Keenan, I said before the break that I wanted to talk about some specific things. So we've got this election coming up, okay? Yes. You know, and again, I'm 60 years old. I've been through lots of elections. Okay, I remember my first one years ago. That I got to vote in, and I was very proud. And I still think every member of this community ought to get out there and vote and do their thing. And we need to take part in the political process. But it's become so acrimonious. It's become so dark.
Yes.
When we start looking at people on the quote other side, okay, that how do we bridge some of that gap? How can we get let's just even do the two major parties, not to mention even the smaller parties. How do we bring all these folks together in a common vision when everybody's hanging to their side so tight?
Wow, that's a really big question, Father. I think we start at the basics. I think the one thing that we've got to do is we got to exercise our right to vote. I think it's important that you find a way. There's a whole lot of talk about plan your vote these days. Are you going to vote by mail? Are you going to vote absentee?
Right.
Are you actually going to go to the polls and stand in line on November 3rd? I think it's important that you do that. And then I think we trust not only the God that we love and that we worship, but we trust the process. This is a nation that was built on voting, a nation built on democracy, and I believe that it'll play out in November. I believe that we will go through the process, and we may not know the evening of November 3rd of who won the election. We may have to wait a few days because things are going to be different, just like this entire year has been.
Voting when so many people are afraid to get out and to do those things, sure. I get that, and I agree with you. We may not know, but that still shouldn't bring our democracy to a halt.
I don't know when Democrats became demons and Republicans became devils. I don't know when that happened and how that happened, because I know a lot of Republicans and I know a lot of Democrats, and they're my friends and they're my neighbors and they're my coworkers, and they're still people. Ideologies may be different, but we can still get there.
And here's the part that I think people have forgotten to look at. Even among some of those ideologies, a lot of the underlying thoughts, even though there's different ways about going about it, a lot of the underlying thoughts are still good on both sides.
Yes.
I mean, I could go through, and now it's not the time or the place to do it, but I could go through and pick all the things I love about the Republican Party, and I could do the same thing with the Democrats. I'd go through and say, these are the things I love. I could go through and criticize both parties because I think that there are some pieces of those platforms that I'm just like, how can you say you're this and hold this and then have this piece of your platform? I don't get that. I don't. And so I always say to my folks, if you've got a party, fix your party.
Yes.
Make it reflect more the values that you want. Because when I hear people talk about why they want to vote for one party or the other party, they really are talking about good values.
I picked a party a long time ago, and I picked the party of the human race. I have voted for Republicans, and I have voted for Democrats, because I vote for the people that I get to know and the people that I believe that when they are voted into office will get up there and do the right thing, not just for me and my beliefs, but for the community as a whole. And that's what we need to do. Get to know the people on the ballot. Know them. I've had people, since I've entered the political game, if you will, or the public arena, say some things about me that have made me just go, well, they don't even know anything about me. And I've had those same people that have gotten to know me later and been like, totally different than what I thought. Because we don't take the time to get to know people. And I even hate to tell this story on myself, but I've lived in the current home that I've lived in since just after the tornado in 2011. I met my neighbors for the first time like 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
Had them over to the house, and I have a garden this year, so I had some vegetables from the garden that I wanted to share with them. So I said, come on in the house, and I got to know them a little bit and gave them vegetables, and they were very appreciative of that, and we spent some time talking.
Yeah.
And I can honestly tell you that I used to come home and I said, oh, my neighbors. Then I got to know them, and I'm like, they're really
a little different, isn't it?
They're really nice people.
They're real people with real names. And,
and we can coexist together, and we can be neighbors, and we can wave at each other when we're pulling in and out of driveways and stuff like that. And it's the beginning of a really good neighbor-to-neighbor relationship now. But I hate to tell on myself like this, but before, when I was pulling up in my driveway and I didn't like the way they cut their grass, so they cut their grass because they're trying to be mean to me and stuff like that, I had no idea who those people were. But now that I know them, I'm like, man, I'm glad they're my neighbors now.
Yeah.
So we have got to get to know one another. We have got to get our heads up out of our screens and talk. We have got to quit.
We used to have different phrases back in my day, but I agree. It's a good turn of phrase. Get it out of the screens.
We've got to quit letting a 2-minute quip that we see on the evening news or a 3-minute read that we read in the local newspaper influence our decisions. Do your own research. Find your own answers. Get to know the people. And I think we'll be a little less divided, because whether it's Donald Trump or it's Joe Biden, they're both good men.
Mm-hmm.
They're both men with values, and they both men that love this country and care about their families.
And every voter is the same way. I don't know. I mean, the people I've gotten to know in this community are good people, and they're as good people. They're going to go vote how they're going to vote. Okay. And all I want them to do is to, again, reflect that goodness and figure out what the best way for all of us to move forward is. We're doing some of those things, knowing that there are going to be a few things that we are going to disagree on. And that's okay. I still think back to when I was, younger and first, studying the political scene. And they used to talk about, some of the days of the giants of Tip O'Neill and people like that who would reach across the aisle and say, okay, we're not going to be able to get all of what we want in this whole thing, but what's going to be the best thing for the country?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be the best thing for our state legislators? Say, what's going to be the best thing for the state of Missouri? Our local community, you and the city council are going to have to, okay, what's going to be best for Joplin? What are we going to do? Even though we may not like something, even though we disagree with each other on some things, I may have to give on one issue.
Yes.
But there's something else that says, okay, but if we're going to do this, then what about this issue over here? How are we going to do some of that? But how can we continue to choose the larger good? And the good of not just what I want, but of the larger community.
Yeah. In my life of public service, and I've been doing things with the city for a long time now, since 2004, the one thing that I try to keep in mind is what I do in public service isn't about me. It's about the community. How can I best do the things that I do in the position that I have for this community? And I've always tried to live by the mantra of being part of the solution rather than part of the problem. And if I find myself complaining or I find myself upset or unraveling about certain things that are going around me, I think that's an opportunity for me to look within and reflect of, am I being a part of this problem or am I being a part of the solution? How can I help? If this is bothering me, how can I help make it to where it doesn't bother me? What can I do? How can I help?
Yeah. And again, so much of that figuring out what I can do personally is, I think, also part of what will give people more grace.
Yes.
Because we know I messed this up over here, and this wasn't my best moment over here. But okay, let's just set that aside, and now how are we going to make the difference here? Or maybe we fought about something on an earlier issue or an earlier thing, and you won. Well, does that mean that I have to label you as horrible, bad, mean, evil, whatever, for the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. Or can I just say, okay, your arguments won out and won the vote on this one, and I need to do a better job if I really think it was wrong of convincing everybody the other position down the road. If we can change it, great, but if we can't, then how are we still going to move the community forward together? What's the common good? Yeah. And that's one of those things that I always just keep saying to people. It's just like, when I vote, am I doing something for the common good, or am I just doing what I want?
I often think about what my life would be like, what this world would be like, if Christ didn't offer grace to us.
Yes.
If he gave us what we deserved every single time,
yeah,
where would I be today? I don't think I'd be sitting here with you.
Yeah, probably not.
Because I've needed some grace in my life.
Well,
and I'm probably going to need some tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably going to need some next week. And I'm probably going to need some when I get your age, because I'm a little younger than you.
Well, I'm going to give you one piece of advice on that, my friend, and that is just don't get old.
Don't get old.
Because I'll tell you what,
it's a privilege not afforded to many.
Pardon?
It's a privilege not afforded to many.
Amen. And I got so many in my wisdom community. I don't know how they're managing it in their 90s. I mean, I struggle in my 60s, and I don't know how many of them are just doing so great in their 90s. And I just look at them and shake my head and think, Lord, deliver me. I think I want to be in heaven by the time I'm 90. But those are all good hopes.
I think if I wanted to end on one thing today, if I wanted to kind of tell a story as I recall, and this happens to me so frequently, is I'll walk into a room and I'll see somebody over there, and I'll already have a preconceived idea about them based on how they're dressed, what they look like, are they clean shaven, do they have a beard, are their clothes disheveled or whatever. And I'm already sitting there with an attitude about this individual. And that happened to me today. I saw this guy walking across a parking lot, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe I should go this way. And he got closer to me and he spoke to me, and he was very kind and he was very respectful. And I would have never imagined that would have come out of his mouth. But I actually had to engage him in conversation. I actually had to be in relationship with him for just a moment to find out the true person.
And that, my friend, was a moment of grace for both of you when you were able to do that. Again, my guest this morning, Keenan Cortez, Mayor Pro-Tem of the City of Joplin. We're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute.
A new baby changes the world and each of us. The Sisters of Mercy devoted themselves to offering exceptional maternity and delivery care, training generations of nurses to do the same. Mercy continues to answer the same call, to not only care for your baby, but to cherish them too. Mercy, in every era, your life is our life's work. Learn why we serve at mercy.net/legacy. In Ireland, the first Sisters of Mercy were called the Walking Sisters because every day they went out in search of women and children who needed healing or help. Mercy continues to answer the same call, dedicated to the health of every woman who comes to us for care. Mercy, in every era, your life is our life's work. Learn why we serve at mercy.net/legacy.
Well, again, I want to thank all of you for giving up some of your Sunday morning and spending it with me and with the people that I bring in to have these wonderful conversations on behalf of all of us in the greater Joplin area. I think it's important. We've got to talk to each other. We've got to get some of those rough edges knocked off. And as Keenan was talking about today, our Mayor Pro-Tem of the City of Joplin, it's graciousness. It's how do we extend each other a little bit of grace, even when we don't think the same way, even when we don't act the same way. We don't want to hang out with the same people. Even when we may have completely different ideas about how to approach a particular situation or how to make this community or our world better. But if we don't learn how to be gracious, we're going to have another year of acrimony. And there's enough that divides us. Let's find the things that unite us, and let's claim some of those and really work forward together. That's what it is to be members of a hometown. That's what it is to be people of faith. So thank you for joining us. Come back and see us again next week for Faith in Our Hometown.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.